What is up, guys? Matt here, and we are doing the final game videos for this month. Overview and review of the Gearseed Saga. The Gearseed Saga, it comes with Gearseed, like the name suggests, and for backers of their Kickstarter for this game, you would also get the microgame Synod. This game is made by Small Box Games. The Gearseed of this box is 2 to 4 players, while Synod is just a 2-player game. Yes, I will be doing an overview and review for both of these games. Even though Synod is Kickstarter exclusive, I'll still be doing the overview and everything for this, as well as the game that you are still able to get, Gearseed. So, I will do that overview, then I'll come back, do that review, because you want to know exactly what I think about these games. I know you do. That's why you're here. So I'll see you in a second. Alright guys, so to set up Gearseed, you just gotta separate these into different piles. You got your point cards right here. You got 4 of them. 4-player game. Like always, we're setting up for a 2-player game, so we only need 2 of them. You got your burst cards here. That's what they look like. Points plus 30 on the bottom. Black on the other side. They're your burst cards. You just shuffle those up and give 1 to each player. And you want to separate the 4 season cards out. Shuffle those up. Place those down. And you want to take the rest of the cards, which is called the seed cards. You want to shuffle those up a little bit. Great shuffle, Matt. Thank you. And that is your seed deck. Each player is dealt trace cards. Trace is 3 in Spanish. It's 3 in Spanish. Also, it's 3 in Spanish. So, I mean, shared word there for Spanish and Spanish. Did I just say the same thing twice? I don't know. Matt, you're crazy. I know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I mean, and that's set up. That's it. 3 cards each player. Got your points, you got your burst cards, got your season deck, and your seed deck. So, what is all this? Just move that to the side. So yeah, this is just a point card. It goes up to 30. That's why if you look at your burst card, it has points plus 30 on it. So, just if you go past 30, just use this side instead. It'll be 1 plus 30. You got 31 points. And each of the burst cards are the same on this side. You can flip it during your turn, and you're able to build an additional card. Limit once per game. You can only use it once per game. Flip it over, it comes to the black side. Excuse me, sorry. Must have something in my throat. Whew, baby. Okay, so, each of the burst cards are different. This one is the Tower Burst. When you flip it, this card, gain 1 point for each tower in play. And I know you're thinking, Matt, what's a tower? I mean, what does it mean to build something? And we'll get into that. But each of the burst cards are different. There are, how many are there again? 4? Yeah, there's 4. There's 4 burst cards, 1 for each different type of building. And yeah, so that are those. And let's just get into player turn order. Just move hand to the side. So, when you start the game off, the very start, the first player will take the season deck, you'll flip the first card over to reveal the first season of the game. Now there are 4 seasons, but you're only going to be using 3 out of the 4. So technically this last one doesn't really even matter, but it's there. Because this game is played over a series of 3 rounds, or 3 seasons, so after the 3rd season the game is over. But they'll flip over the season to, flip it over to review what it is, but each of the season deals with one of the different races, which I will be getting to soon enough. Do not fret, kind sir, or madam. So they flip over the season card, and then in addition to the 3 cards, they're going to be getting 3 more cards for a total of 6. Start off with 3, then you draw 3 more. So then you have 6 cards in total. What you are able to do then is what is called building. You get to build a building. I don't know how else to word that. But you just play a card, it's called building, and you do whatever its effect is. The normal plain text, it's its normal effect. There is a bonus effect as well, that takes effect depending on what season it is. And there are also trigger effects, like on this shrine right here. The order of the effects just goes in the order that they are on the card. So it will be trigger, regular effect, and then a bonus. And to come back to the burst card, it lets you build 1 additional card. The most you can do normally is 2. You can only build 2 per turn, but with the burst card you can build an additional 3rd one. Not taking into account any effects that the cards have with building, switching out buildings, all that good stuff. And yeah, once you play your 2 buildings, your turn's over, goes to the next player. He will then draw his 3 cards, 1, 2, and 3. He'll draw his 3 cards, then he'll have 6. He will then build 2. And once their turn is over, they take the season card, put it on the bottom, and flip over to reveal the next season. They will then take the seed deck, they'll shuffle in any of the discards that may be lying about, they'll shuffle it, and then they will start their turn by drawing 3 new cards. Also, you can't have more than 3 cards in your hand at the end of your turn. It's max 3 cards, so at the end, if you have, well, you're going to have extras, most likely, if you only do the 2 cards, so, what is that? So you would have 4, yeah, you would have 4 at the end of your turn normally, so you have to discard 1 of them to go down to 3. And so your opponent would go, you would go again, building 2 cards. And the way you build is just top, bottom, left or right of a card. You can't do diagonally. And when a card isn't, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not surrounded by cards. It doesn't have a card on each side of it. It's considered a free card. So both of these cards right here would be considered free cards. But let's say that there were all of these cards here. This castle now would not be free because it's surrounded on all 4 sides by other buildings. But this shrine, this castle, fountain, this shrine, and that tower are all free cards. So if you ever see text that says free card, that's what that means. And That's basically it. Once that season is over, the person who initially went first at the beginning of the game will then go again, flip over the last season of the game. They'll draw their 3 cards, take their turn, and they're off to the races. So there are 3 races in Gearseed. Each of the seasons... Here, let's do it like this. I like it this way more. Each of the seasons deals with a different race, except for, where is it? Summer. Summer deals with shrine cards. Winter is red, which is Kolkin. Fall is green, Thorned. And spring is blue, Gremlin. And so each season you're only going to get bonuses and everything from the appropriate races or shrines. Also, I guess I should mention, each of the seasons, they do have a different ability. It doesn't just change based on the race, as the normal seed cards do. They actually all have different effects. So that is something to keep in mind. And lastly, there are 5 different types of cards in Gearseed. Let me just move this up a little bit. We got fountains, castles, shrines, expanses, and towers. Each race all has, well, let's move these. Each race has each of these 4 buildings here, and then shrines are just their own thing. So every race is going to have a fountain, every race is going to have a castle, a tower, and expanse. And they're all going to be the same abilities, just changing based on the race. Let's take, for example, this tower. It's a Thorn Tower, and its ability is when you build it, you reveal the top 4 cards of the deck, and you add all Thorn cards revealed to your hand. You discard the rest and gain 1 point. So if this was a Kolkin card, it would be the same, but you add all the Kolkin cards revealed to your hand, and you discard the rest. And then the bonuses change. It changes the season for each of the races, and then the appropriate race as well. If you see the stars in the corners of the expanse and shrines, that means that they have trigger abilities. These are the only 2 cards that have trigger abilities. And what a trigger means is, let's say you have this expanse down, and you build a castle right next to it, you activate the trigger. The only way to activate it is by building next to it. So if you had the castle down and you build the expanse down next to it, you don't get the trigger, because you're building it next to something, you're not building something next to it, if that makes sense. And that is it. That is everything. 5 different types of buildings, 4 different seasons for each of the different races. I guess I can show the different burst cards. Show what they are. There are 4. If you can guess, none of them are for shrine cards. You got Tower, Fountain, Castle, and Expanse. So they're all the same. They just change based on which building they are for. So with each of them, you gain 1 point for each of the appropriate building in play that you have. And that is it. Obviously, the winner is the person with the most points at the end of the game. And yes, that is everything. That is how you play the fancy game of Gearseed. I hope this was informative. And coming up next, learn how to set up and play Synod, the other game that is a part of this fantastical box. Alright guys, so to set up and play Synod, all you have to do is you just separate the cards into 2 decks. The ones with the white backs into one. This will be your noble deck. And then the 3 with the black backs. These are your Synod / favor cards. So with the favor cards, there are 1 for each of the different races. And the races are the same as in Gearseed. You got the Culkin, the Thorned, and the Gremlins. And what you do is you just shuffle them up, and you'll have 2 random ones, which are going to be your favorite cards during the game, and then the other one stays on the black side, and this one is going to be your Synod card. So we'll just sit those over to the side like that. You take the noble cards, you just shuffle them up a little bit, and then you deal out 2 cards to each player. Okay, so you got your 2 cards, and what you do on your turn is you just draw 1 from the noble deck, and then you're able to play 1 of your 3 cards. And if you manage to have more than 2 cards at the end of your turn, you must discard down to 2 cards. And what happens when you discard, you just place it on the bottom of the noble deck. And you get to choose what order you put it in as well. So, looking at our hand here, we got a Gremlin Page, we got the Gremlin Bishop, and we got a Culkin Bishop. All of the different nobles have the same abilities, so the bishops will do the same thing, and the pages will all do the same thing. There are also lords and ladies. Here's a lady right here, and got a lord as well right here. They all look pretty much the same. Just as in Gearseed, they'll change based on their race. So their abilities that they have, their schemes down here. That's what this little text is called, right below this white line here. It's called a scheme. Their schemes will change, and then their influence icons, which are right here, will change as well. So, just to explain those words a little bit more, influence are basically just points that you'll get at the end of the game. Then your actual ability is right under that. That is what will happen during the game when you play it. And then there is a little break with a line, and then under that is the scheme. And schemes only go into effect at the end of the game. And I'll get a little bit more into that towards the end. So, what cards do we have here? So we have the Culkin Bishop, Gremlin Bishop, and the Gremlin Page. So we'll play the Culkin Bishop, ignoring its effect. Its effect is whatever right now. Playing it because of the favorite cards. When you play a card that is the same race as one of the 2 favorite cards, you will then gain that favor of that race. So I play the Culkin card, I'll gain the Culkin favor. And when you gain the favor, there is an effect on it. And the effect happens immediately. And it also is basically a scheme as well at the bottom of that. It's basically a scheme. Actually, that's going to get a little confusing when it comes to scoring points, so let's not call it a scheme. It's just text that happens at the end of the game that allows you to score a point if you have it. So then the other one is Thorned, so in order to get that, our opponent or us would have to play a Thorn card. They would then get that. But let's say that we want that Thorn favorite card. All you do is you just play a Thorn card, and then you'll be stealing it from the other player. And then they can do the same by playing a Culkin card. They will then get the Culkin favor. Now, to actually get the favors, you have to play the card from your hand. There are the... Oh wait, this is a page. Where's an emissary? I need an emissary. Do we have one on there? No, we don't. Okay. We'll use this one. So, let's say we played this Thorned Emissary. What it does is it exchanges for an opposing non-thorned card. So we played the Thorned Emissary, and we're going to exchange it for the Colkin Bishop. So, oh geez. So I now have the Colkin Bishop. My opponent now has the Thorned Emissary. Since we didn't actually play these cards, we don't switch favors. He doesn't get the Thorned favor for getting the Thorned Emissary, and I don't get the Colkin from exchanging to get the Colkin page. We keep our favors. Another thing is you can also play cards upside down, and doing that, their effects just don't happen until they get put face up, which happens with the page. It allows you to reveal one of your face down. Well, it's going to change based on the other races, of course. But the Gremlin page, you reveal one of your face down Gremlin cards. If you do, use his ability and play one card from your hand face down. That's really the most you're going to get out of playing a card face down, besides it being a mystery. And that's really it. The game ends once the Noble deck runs out. So let's say we play a bunch of cards, the Noble deck is down to no cards. The person who draws the last card starts the end. Like, they start the last round. So let's say I draw the last card. This will be my last turn, and then my opponent also gets to take a turn, and then the game will be over. So once that happens, you then tally up points. Let's play a couple randos here. Say my opponent has 3 of these cards. Why not? So we each have a favor. A favor will give you 1 point, so we'll each get 1 point. And then after favors, you want to count up your scheme points. So with the Gremlin Lord, you'll score 1 point if you have 3 or more Gremlin cards, which he does not. He just has the 2. Colkin Emissary, you score 1 point if the opposing player has 2 or more Colkins, which I do not. And then the Lady, you score 1 point if this is the only Lady card that you have. And that is the only Lady card that my opponent has, so they will get 1 point from their scheme, with a total of 2 points with their favor. Something to keep in mind, the schemes, you can only get 2 points total from the schemes. So even if they had gotten the schemes from the Emissary and the Lord, they would still only have 2 points, even though they had 3 completed schemes. And looking at my schemes, I score 1 point if this is the only Thorned card that I have, which it is, and the Lady of Colkin, I score 1 point if it is the only Lady card that I have, which it is. So I get the 2 points from the schemes, plus my 1 favor card, gives me 3 versus his 2. Next, you count up the influence, which again is these little symbols here. So my opponent has 2, 3, 6, and I have 4. So 6 plus 1, 2, that's 8. 8 total points there. And then I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What was it? 8? Yeah, 8 to 7. So even though I got more scheme points, in the end my opponent won because they had more influence than me. So there is that. So bringing back the Synod card, at the end of the game, the player with the most influence takes this card. And then it's going to have a tiebreaker cast, which is going to be the race that is left over that aren't either of the favorite cards. So in this case, it is Gremlin. And they would score 2 points for that. So in the end, influence is really important. My opponent has the most influence, so he would get the Synod card, and he already won, but he won even harder now. That is everything, though. So you score, the player turns, how you set up. It is everything. So stay tuned, because next is my review of both Gearseed and Synod. Alright, so what do I think of these games? I'm going to do them individually. I'm not going to group them together, because maybe one's good, maybe one's bad. Who knows? I kind of know. But Synod. Let's start off with Synod. For a micro game, I think this is enjoyable. There's definitely a lot of strategy that comes into it, which of course I love strategy, even though I can be really bad at it. I still really enjoy it. I like having to try and think 50 moves ahead. It's kind of like chess, which I am garbage at, but I'm not as garbage with Synod, so I mean, that's a plus right there. This art is just so good, as you might have you see a closer up in the overview. But this, I think this art is really good. I really enjoy this art. Gameplay, it's pretty quick. Not as quick as I would think. I would think, okay, this game's gonna take like 2 minutes, but it just feels like it takes longer than I think it would, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it's a thing. So one of the things on here, the schemes, you can only score up to 2 points for a scheme, and although that, I mean, how do I want to say this? I don't think that's like a terrible thing, but it kind of feels weird, because it's more like you don't have to focus on schemes at all. It can kind of just be like, oh, if I get a scheme, that's cool, but if I don't, it's no big deal. I can only get 2 max points for them anyways. It's kind of just like, oh, I want to get the most influence, and then I'll probably most likely win with the most influence, and that's kind of weird. I think that's kind of weird. I don't know. I think overall, this is an enjoyable game. It's not one of my favorite games. I think it's okay. It's okay. My final answer, it's an okay game. But now, the main game of this, Gearseed. I think this is quite interesting. The art's not crazy. Like, some of them look pretty cool, but some of them are kind of like plain. Like, the Expanse is pretty plain. It's just hills. I mean, some of them aren't very exciting. Some of them look cooler. Like how the tower looks for the Thorned. Like how that looks. But the art, it's just, I mean, the art's whatever. Gameplay, though, I think is interesting, and there's a whole lot of strategy, and like I just said earlier, I really love strategy games, and having to put a lot of thought into what your actual moves and actions are for your turn, I think like it really raises my opinion of the game, and that really does that in this game. When I did the actual gameplay video, there were, like, at the very end, I had to do a bunch of math to see, okay, how can I get the most points out of what cards I have for this very last round to make sure I win from a losing position. Was I losing? I don't know. Go check out that video, because I'm not going to spoil it at all. But how many points can I get from all these cards that I have? What are the different options that I have for the season that we're in? And all that stuff. that really ups my opinion of the game and makes me enjoy it more. But if you just want a fun game to play, I would say check it out at least. As a whole, together, Gearseed and Synod, I would say it's just okay. Or I guess a little bit more than okay, because I think Synod's okay. I would say Gearseed is a little bit more than okay. Let's do this a number system. It'll be better with a number system. So out of 10, I would say Gearseed is probably like a 6, and then Synod is like a 5. So together they're like a 5.5 if you average it out. Because I know how to do math. So besides the actual games, I kind of want to go into the box a bit, because the box kind of bothers me. I like the boxes where it says it has this, you can do this many number of players, it takes about this much time to play, and it is for ages blah blah and up. And I really like that, and I like all the different art on the boxes and the description of the game on the back of the box and all that stuff. And I didn't realize how much I actually like that stuff until I got this box. So, like, the box and everything, I'm not really into it. I would have preferred something different. Maybe something more like the Battle Goats box, where it was just, like, super tight, and it has, like, enough room just for the cards and everything else. But game-wise, I like it. Everything else-wise, it's whatever. I could deal without this box. It's overall rating out of 10. I would just say it's like a 5. It's okay. I just think it's okay. Boring end of video stuff. Small box games. I'll start with them. They have Instagram, they have Twitter, Facebook, they have all that stuff. Just look up small box games. You will find it. They also have a website, smallboxgames.com. And I am on Twitter and Instagram, Base Delinquents, as always. I have a Patreon, which I have not been updating very much, but that is just because of this month. This month it's been something. If you could not tell from my unboxing from this month of the Legion of Collectors and another video that'll be coming out eventually, it is another unboxing of a game. I've been having to do a lot of weird stuff, but I'm going to get back on track with that Patreon thing, so check that out if you want to support me. I'm also considering changing how I get paid on there, so if you checked it out before and you were kind of turned off by how it was once per video, then keep an eye out, because I'm thinking about changing that. So that's me, Capes and Scowls, this channel that this video is on. You can check that out on Facebook, Twitter, at Capes and Scowls. Capes and Scowls also has their own Patreon if you want to support the group as a whole. They also have a Patreon. They are Capes and Scowls on there. They do have a podcast, Capes and Scowls Podcast, and then their website, capesandscowlspodcast.com. You can check out there to find a bunch of different things. And all of this information will be, of course, in the description. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my gameplay video. I keep closing my eyes for like long periods of time. Like, it's longer than a blink. It's not like a quick blink, but it's kind of like I'm taking a nap. Maybe I should do that for a whole video, where I'm just like chilling here, taking kind of like a nap, telling you about stuff. That would probably be terrible. But anyways, what was I saying? Who cares? Whatever. Who cares what I have to say? Alright, gameplay. Check out my gameplay video of these games. If you feel so inclined to do that, check it out. I play with Leander, again, like I do with Battle Goats. So if you liked our little dynamic thing that we had going on there, our little stuff, then check it out. But that is it. I'll be back next week with another game that is not a Kickstarter game. First non-Kickstarter game that I will be doing will be next week. And it's also going to be really different from what I've done so far, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you next time for that and all other videos. As always, I love you so very much. Take care.